Unity say they're sorry and are attempting to salvage their reputation. But what do game developers actually think about all of this? Well, let's break this down in the video because we've covered this to death, or actually I've covered this to death on my TikTok, which is tiktok.com/@stylosaul. There's a link to it in the video description below. Go and check it out. But basically, long story short, Unity changed their pricing structure without any consultation and just did it because they want to make more money. But the impact this would have on indie developers specifically would be quite far-ranging, and it would be very difficult on their budgets. And there's a lot of other complexities to this. But essentially, if you're using Unity's engine, you are basically at the mercy of them deciding to change the ways that they will engage with you and that you engage with them, thus costing you more money. So let's see what's happened here, because it's actually really, really interesting. So we've got this, right? It is the post which dropped on the 22nd of September from Unity. And it says, here is an open letter to our community. Now, this is the open letter in question. And this is what they say. To our community, I'm Mark Whitten, and I lead Unity Create, which includes the Unity engine and editor teams. I want to start with this. I am sorry. We should have spoken with more of you, and we should have incorporated more of your feedback before announcing our new runtime fee policy. So this is kind of critical here because, as far as we understand, they didn't speak with anybody. This is just the suits, the board at Unity have gone, you know what, we can increase our profits if we add the runtime fee. So essentially every time a game is run. And by the way, Unity were going to collect this information themselves. So you'd have to trust Unity to give you the correct numbers as to how many times it's been run. You see where I'm saying? There's a lot of issues. But they've since gone back on that. But anyway, yeah, they didn't consult with anyone. They just basically changed it. And then they packaged it like this. And it's just, it's very untrustworthy. But anyway. We should have spoken with more of you, and we should have incorporated more of your feedback before announcing our new runtime fee policy. Our goal with this policy is to ensure we can continue to support you today and tomorrow and keep deeply investing in our game engine. Okay, again, that's just what you would expect them to say, right? You are what makes Unity great, and we know we need to listen and to work hard to earn your trust. We have heard your concerns and are making changes in the policy we announced to address them. Our Unity personal plan will remain free, and there will be no runtime fee for games built on Unity Personal. We will be increasing the cap from 100,000 to 200,000, and we will remove the requirement to use the Made with Unity splash screen. Okay, so that's good, right? There's progress there for people on the personal plan. No game with less than 1 million in trailing 12-month revenue will be subject to the fee. For those creators on Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise, we are also making changes based on your feedback. The runtime fee policy will only apply beginning with the next LTS version of Unity shipping in 2024 and beyond. Your games that are currently shipped and the projects you are currently working on will not be included unless you choose to upgrade them to this new version of Unity. We will make sure that you can stay on the terms applicable for the version of Unity editor you are using as long as you keep using that version. For games that are subject to the runtime fee, we are giving you a choice of either 2.5% revenue share or the calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game each month. Both of these numbers are, and this is the critical thing, self-reported from data you already have available. You will always be billed the lesser amount. Now, the key thing here is, and obviously they've put this in bold, is it will be self-reported because the original version of the Unity new pricing structure effectively was Unity would report this. And obviously you can see the issue with that because it would be in Unity's interest to report much higher figures than are actually happening. So then the developers have to pay more in rev share. You can see it was just horrific, like a really terrible idea all round, but they're going back on that. So again, that's good news. We want to continue to build the best engine for creators. We truly love this industry, and you are the reason why. Again, just nonsensical PR crap. And then they say, okay, yeah, there's going to be a live fireside chat, and thank you for caring as deeply as you do. And yeah, from Mark Whitten. Okay, so let's go and take a look at this. Now, this is Rami Ismail. He's a game dev, and Um, we featured him. Well, I featured him on my TikTok. I'm not sure I featured him on. I don't think I featured him on this channel. But he's obviously been quite outspoken about this situation. But there's some very interesting tweets from him. So he says, to begin with, I'm polling a random selection of the many devs in my DMs on the Unity news, and the general temperature seems to be a mixture of relief and distrust. Primarily seems to be variations of this will at least keep us safe until we figure out if and what to switch to for now. And actually, the top comment there just says relieved and distrustful from a game dev developing Stellar Conquest. Okay. So, yeah, you will see this theme throughout this from the developers. The trust is lost, and that is a major issue. There's also this, which is Ramis' first reaction to the news. And he says, you know what? On first glance, I think this works. It's effectively a 2.5% revenue share for 1 million plus per year earners. No retroactivity left, LTS stability, no black box data. Yeah, I think that works for every use case. Well, let's go and take a look at what developers have actually been saying. So this article has been put together by Austin Wood over on Games Radar. And yeah, let's go through this. So game devs react to Unity's updated fee and apology. Some deeply happy, others still worried for the future and eyeing different engines. Okay, so Unity has now formally apologized for the retroactive install fee it abruptly announced earlier this month, to the shock of countless game developers, relaxing or removing several key rules but not eliminating the fee altogether. 10 game developers previously told Games Radar that the new install fee was a major threat to everyone, including gamers, and many were actively looking to change engines. These developers worried that no response could make up for the harm that Unity's rash actions had caused. I spoke to several of the developers and some others again today, and their general consensus thus far is that Unity's revised proposal is miles better than the original unthinkable policy, but some fears remain given how the fee was handled to begin with. And like I said, you will see this theme throughout all of this. Like, the trust is gone, and that's a major issue Unity have got now, because developers that were maybe looking to keep working with Unity going forward into the future are now looking at other options. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are trying to move over to Unreal Engine, and you've got developers who are deep in with Unity already looking to switch over to a more sort of, I don't want to use the word stable, but well, I guess, yeah, a more stable sort of corporate environment for the software that they're using effectively. Anyway, I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to get the trust back. That's the problem with these kind of things. You lose the trust, and it is so hard to get it back. Court of the Lamb just said, buy Court of the Lamb now, because we're going to delete it on January the 1st, which, you know, because they don't want to pay the fees. Anyway, assuming they clear the 1 million 12-month revenue threshold, Unity devs will now be given a choice between a 2.5% revenue share model or a self-reported fee, once again based on new installs. With the cheaper option always being billed, Unreal, another hugely popular game engine, noticeably charges devs about 5% on revenue share, but without Unity's non-trivial subscription fee. Games made with the free personal version of Unity will be exempt from these fees, and Unity has also assured devs that their current LTS, essentially the terms of service for the engine's long-term support release, will apply as long as they stay on that version of the engine. Existing Unity games, including those currently in development but unreleased, will not be hit by the fee when it arrives in 2024, unless the devs upgrade to the new version of Unity. This clause should prevent such retroactive changes from disrupting plans in the future, but was a major concern for many devs worried about another rug pull. But some devs believe it's still not necessarily watertight. This is a welcome clarification from Unity, and I think the calculator is something that helps us understand the repercussions of these changes, says Gregory Kithriotis. Sorry if I got your name wrong there. Creative director at Sable Studios, Shedworks. However, this is only an improvement on what were ridiculous and unfeasible terms to begin with. If Unity were presenting a massive price increase like this from Plus to Pro and 2.5% off the bat, I don't think people would be happy. However, relative to the bar being on the floor, this is an improvement. Ultimately, the financial implications, short to mid-term, are not the issue here. The problem is the way they have treated their community of developers. It's suddenly thrown into question whether or not to recommend new developers and whether students should learn Unity or not. Again, it's this thing of trust, right? Trust is broken. So again, we get to see more comments from Rami Ismail, the Vlambeer co-founder, and he is overall optimistic about Unity's update, agrees that there is a long road ahead to restoring trust and some of their ubiquity might be lost forever, including education. Right now, developers want reassurances that terms won't get changed on them again. And given the broken trust, that might be impossible to do. I know how many indie developers, business development folks, and Unity employees work tirelessly to undo this unparalleled executive misfire. How many Unity folks put themselves out there to reassure, communicate, and champion the developers. It's strange to know many people who have worked and negotiated for a full week will never be acknowledged for having had such an effect on this outcome. But I hope they know that their efforts have been appreciated. Ismail praises the stable, apologetic, but forward-facing open letter from Unity's creative head, Mark Whitten, and Unity's decision to expand the personal tier of its subscription, but focuses more on the engine's terms of service and revenue share propositions. Being certain of your engine version is bound to those terms is reassuring, although not fully, as often title support and future ports require updates beyond a single LTS version. He reasons Unity needs a way to assure developers future versions won't spring similar charges on them. And that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because if you're developing Unity, a game in the current version of Unity, and then a few years down the line you want to port it to a different device, maybe you're forced to upgrade to the newer versions, which suddenly have this fee attached to them. And then, are you able to absorb that cost? Again, it's all uncertainty. The revenue share is really what everyone wanted. That is now the industry's most complex revenue share. This is now the most complex. And I'm still not sure how devs are supposed to report something as untrackable as engagements. But being able to go, here's 2.5% of the revenue, means every edge case is also resolved. Strange Scaffold Head, I cannot say that name. Let's just say Nelson, is relieved. If this LTS policy is indeed held to, it means developers like myself, now making our most ambitious, polished projects yet, have invested trust into Unity to host those projects, can finish them safely, and I'm deeply happy to see these changes. The end is nigh, and Basement Collections' Tyler Galale, who is not currently working with Unity, but has had used it in the past, reckons that between Unity options like Godot and Unreal, that choice is now really heavily leaning Unreal. Their changes seem like a stopgap to prevent current devs from migrating away from Unity immediately. He argues that's fair. Anyone with a project in the works can safely finish it now without concern for the pricing models changing under them. Unity's LTS releases seem to be about once per year, while you can stay on the TOS for the LTS version you are using seems good, but games take a lot longer than 1 year to make, so you can still be essentially forced to accept new terms of service if you want to upgrade. If Unity was as stable and as featureful as Unreal was, this would be less of an issue, but it kind of isn't, and they haven't done anything to indicate that they won't just keep raising the price in the future. So if you're starting a big Unity project, you have to take into consideration the fact that it still might increase the cost again before you can release, and that you might still need to upgrade to a newer LTS to ship on newer hardware. So you can see it's not all cut and dry, is it? This at some point you're probably going to have to upgrade Unity, and when you do that, these new fees are going to come in, and that's probably going to be a big issue. More to the point, one of the big reasons to pick Unity over Unreal was the lack of rev share, because Unreal is a more capable engine with a lot of absolute cutting-edge tech in it. It's why AAA companies use it, and it's why so many AAA companies have abandoned their own in-house engines in favor of Unreal. With both engines having similar costs now, it's getting harder to justify why not just use Unreal. Epic knows this, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them drop their rev share percent as a response to this. There's optimism in the air, which is a massive upgrade over the panic of a few weeks ago, but it's all not sunny. I mean, what were they going to do at this point but apologize? Says the general manager at Purple Royal, which is a specialist indie games marketing agency. They had to find a way to present this as a we listen kind of thing, which again they have. I mean, that the statement we read out, it's all like we listen, we hear you, we're sorry. What else could they do? But this could have gone down so much easier if they had done that listening and feedback gathering before announcing something so vague and concerning in the first place. When you are a vital part of a creative ecosystem and literally the backbone behind a ton of creators' livelihoods, you absolutely cannot put forth public statements with blind angles all around them. I think Unity will have a hard time healing the breach of trust that they created here. The rift is simply too large and it's getting so publicly called out, and it's very difficult position to get yourself out of. And it's true, right? I mean, who am I? I just like games. I'm not a game dev. I don't know a lot about game engines. I don't know how to use a game engine to. I wouldn't be able to use Unity. I wouldn't be able to use Unreal or anything like that. Maybe I could have watched a few YouTube tutorials and do something really cheap. But I don't have a ton of experience with this. I just want to play good games. Yeah, I'm speaking about this because it's a massive issue. And this is a problem that Unity have created themselves with their terrible communication and with their horrific systems and pricing structures that they tried to introduce into a new terms of service, which, obviously people are not happy about. I'm not going to be happy about it because it's going to impact the games that I want to play, So that's why it caused a lot of trouble. Anyway, Hover Sports Studios co-owner Maxwell Kunz is relieved that current projects won't be hit by Unity's fee, but isn't running back to Unity with open arms. I have lost way too much trust, he says. He also highlights the lingering confusion over how installs are meant to be tracked for this new rev share alternative. The fact that they still want it to exist at all, even if the numbers are self-reported, is suspicious to me. He says that of the install fee, while I am glad that this likely means we don't need to worry about hypotheticals of install bombing or piracy affecting developer income, I worry that this is some tactic to either normalize installations being a payment metric or that Unity stands to gain something from the data alone that I'm unaware of. And I suppose, like I said, another issue with this is, what happens if the stats being reported by developers are not accurate? What happens then? If it's such a mess. The whole thing is such a mess. Thankfully, it's not all bad news. I'm incredibly thankful to the industry as a whole has really come together on this issue. I was incredibly proud to see so many people speak out against the changes they saw as unjust, and was especially happy to see people come together in support for other game development tools like Godot. I was also impressed by the fact that a few groups attempted to create tools to assist in a wildly impractical task of switching over to an entirely new engine. Honestly, that's just so crazy to see. It's heartwarming to know that if an entire game engine suddenly became unviable, there are still enough insane developers that will be willing to assist in the nightmare of a task it would be to switch engines. So, in the end, this horrible situation, with a positive, it's nice to know that while Unity doesn't have my back, the indie game dev community does. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot here, to be honest, to take on board. And I think the interesting thing for me after reading that article is the idea now that Unity and Unreal are actually not that different in pricing structure. They were in the past, and that's why a lot of very small indie devs would use Unity. It was the cheaper option by far. But now it's becoming a lot closer to Unreal. And again, this idea that Unreal, well, it's not an idea, it's fact, that the Unreal Engine is massively more technically capable. It's got a lot of cutting-edge features that that Unity simply does not have. It just becomes more attractive, doesn't it? And also as a long-term proposition. We do know a lot of AAA game devs use Unreal. That is the engine they use because it is simply easier to use that engine than build your own in-house engine, which is an incredibly complex task. And crucially, it's also a lot easier to hire developers that can use your game engine and get them running as soon as they hit the ground floor, so to speak. You guys probably know me as an Overwatch content creator, and the Overwatch engine is a specific bespoke engine to Blizzard. If you were an Unreal Engine developer, or you were used to using the Unreal Engine, I should say, as a dev, you then come into Blizzard. I'm sure there'll be some similarities, but it's a new engine. There's going to be different ways of that working. You need to be trained up. That might take a few months. Whereas if it was Unreal, you just walk straight in and you can hit the ground running. And we might start seeing now more of a big change towards Unreal, and a lot of Unity games kind of being scaled back in the future, or even developers that were thinking of using Unity are now no longer thinking of even using the platform because all the trust has been lost. Very interesting stuff. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening and watching to the video. I hope you enjoyed that. This, I think, is the end of the Unity situation at the moment. I wouldn't expect any further updates. I think it's just going to sit like this for now. Probably something that gets revisited in a year when they increase the prices again, or force everyone to upgrade to a new LTS, thus making them all pay the fees. we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, thank you guys. Do remember to subscribe for more gaming news. And as ever, yeah, thanks for watching the video, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.